problem with emergency funds. Whatever do you mean, Michelle? Emergency funds are great. They serve a wonderful purpose. What problem is there with emergency funds? We've all been there. We've all had an emergency. But I think the emergency fund these days has evolved into covering everything and anything that maybe should not be within the emergency fund umbrella. So what do I mean by that? A lot of times people have an emergency fund saved up, say $1,000, and it is intended to help you when you have an unexpected expense come up. However, I think when people get that, they don't then look at the expense when it happens. Let's look at it this way. $1,000 saved up and a car repair comes up. Something happens to my car. Oh, I don't have money in my budget. I haven't set that aside. Use the emergency fund, take that out, build it up. But then we don't look and say, well, wait a minute. I had a car repair. I have a car. Cars break down. Should I be incorporating that expense now into my budget so that I build up funds in there in a car repair and maintenance category rather than viewing it as an emergency? And that's what I'm really talking about. I think people do that. The other option, so let's say you've got that emergency fund, you use it for the car repair, and then your refrigerator breaks. Oh, emergency. I didn't expect my refrigerator to break. Oh wait, there's no money in my emergency fund. So I have to go and find the money anyways. Same thing as cars. Appliances have a lifespan. They are known to break down. You need to be looking at them. Now, not always is it known, but what you can start doing is setting aside money for appliance repair or home maintenance repair. I think a lot of those categories that are, that maintenance and repair, those kinds of things should be incorporated into your budget rather than included as part of the emergency fund. Because once you start separating that out, so my emergency fund is here, but I built up some funds for my car repair, that appliance or property maintenance. I've built up money for maybe if I have pets for the vet. Then I'm not relying just on that emergency fund. I'm relying on money in those categories. I have flexibility to move them around and they have a dedicated job. Then your emergency fund really starts to move back into its traditional intended purpose, which is maybe job loss income. So income replacement. If you lose your job, that emergency fund really then is intended to fund your expenses while you look for a new job. The other thing it can do is the true emergencies like an accident, the death of a family member or a friend, and you need to cover those expenses. And then you can use your emergency fund to cover that because it's truly unexpected. Now, not to be morbid or anything, but if you do have somebody who is very sick that you expect that might pass away in the next little while, that may be something you want to consider building into your budget rather than just relying on the emergency fund, is maybe creating a category related to the expense of flying to the funeral and everything like that. Because a budget does cover everything in life, and unfortunately death is part of life. So that is something to consider as well. This is why I think when you look at emergency funds, if you're doing anything that takes money out of your emergency fund, is look at it and say, is this something that could potentially happen again? Where you get into these repair, maintenance funds, maybe moving into, oh, my insurance is coming due because I didn't track it, and I pay it once a year to get the lower cost. Then setting that money aside every month on your own, and that's specific and not part of that emergency fund. So I hope you found that helpful on how emergency funds can work, what you can do to improve your emergency fund so that you'll have less of a problem with them in the future. And that is the lesson for today and what the problem is with emergency funds. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to be notified of new videos. Thanks, and see you next time on your Budgeting for Life journey.